If you've ever taken one of my money machine seminars, you know I espouse the philosophy, never sell. Keep it for your retirement, keep it until you pass away. But there are some times when it's inevitable. You may change your geographic location and it may require you to sell. That happened to me when I moved from Hawkesbury to St. Catharines. With a distance of 6-hour driving, it just wasn't practical to have a duplex and a single-family rental in Hawkesbury, so I had to sell. Also, if deteriorating health and you're the one who is involved hands-on, it may necessitate a sale. But hopefully neither of those things happen and you don't sell. But there's another time we need to talk about, and that's upon your passing. I know we never like to talk about that, but it's inevitable. And when somebody passes away, the government says that's a deemed disposition. What they mean is it's the same as if the property sold on the day of their death. And so we need to prepare for that. We need to understand the implications of that. One of the realities of acquiring rental property and paying it off so you can enjoy passive income on retirement is to discharge the mortgage. And as the amortization on that mortgage shortens, the amount of each monthly payment is divided so that it's more principal and less interest. And what happens is you get to the point where you're paying an awful lot off the principal on an annual basis. If you have 6 or 8 or 10 of these properties, that can be hundreds of thousands of dollars. You don't see the money, but the government says you're earning the money and you're going to be taxed on that money. In order to try and alleviate some of the tax burden, many people choose to depreciate the property. What you're allowed to do is calculate the realistic value on acquisition of the building, not the land, and let's say it's 3/4, 1/4, and then the building portion you can depreciate at 4% a year. And what that means is you calculate out what the value is, you calculate out 4%, and you show that on your income tax as a loss against your income. And you can slow down the total amount of tax that you owe over time. And then as you go on, that number changes. The acquisition cost is reduced by the amount you depreciate, and then as you do capital improvements, it's increased by the amount of the capital improvements. So it's sort of a floating amount year after year. But what happens with the disposition or the deemed disposition of the property? Bear in mind that typically properties do not go down in value. So over time, you've shown on the books in your income tax return that that property has lost value. But when it's sold or deemed to be sold, there's going to be a requirement to what we call recapture. All of the losses you've created are going to have to be repaid dollar for dollar as income on your income tax return. And then the second component is capital appreciation. The property's gone up over above what you paid for it, and that is income, not income dollar for dollar, but 50% of that is shown on your income tax return as income, and that has to be paid for in the way of taxes. So you got recapture for taxes, and you've got capital, you've got your appreciated value as taxes. You got a fairly substantial tax hit. The government takes the position that from the day you pass away, within 6 months or the following April, which is farther away, you have to pay the tax. And so you do it on your income tax return. And bear in mind that the people that inherit the property inherit the problem. Somehow along the line, the estate has to pay that tax. So one of two things is going to happen. You're either going to have to refinance the property to pay the tax, or if you have several properties, you may have to pay one or sell one or two of them in order to get enough money to pay the government and be able to pass on in your estate the balance of the properties. Either way, the government's going to be paid. You want to make sure you do some estate planning, talk to some people who know, put your affairs in order, because otherwise, rather than passing on an asset to an heir, you're passing on a liability. I hope this makes sense. I thank you very much for investing your time to watch this video. I'll talk to you again next week.